Welcome to the Transportation Sales Tax Program. I'm Cheryl Harleston. This program is also known as RoadWise. It's all about your transportation sales tax. And today I'm going to be talking with Keith Bustrin, and he is Deputy Director or Director of Administration for Charleston County's Finance Department. And he handles a lot of the money that has to do with sales tax and many other responsibilities. Keith, welcome to our program. It's nice having you.
Thank you, Cheryl.
I'm asking you a lot of questions here when we talked in advance about the transportation sales tax. And how far along are we right now? Where are we? Midway? I know it's 25 years or until a certain amount of money is collected. But where are we in that whole process?
We're about 10 years into the program. Out of the $1.3 billion that we were supposed to collect, we've collected about $300 million.
How's that going? Do you find now these dollars are coming from businesses and from the general public? Is that how they?
It's
how
a sales
gotten?
tax, and so it's paid by individuals, but we collect it from the businesses. Yeah.
Is this amount where you expect it to be, or the county expected to be at this point in time, almost 10 years?
Well, we actually had. No, it's not. We actually had a dip with the recession. In fact, we had a couple of years where revenues declined, but we are pretty much back on track now. We think that we'll collect the $1.3 billion in a little bit less than 25 years, maybe 23 and a half, 24 years. You know, you could still have, and probably will have, another economic slowdown somewhere in there, but that's where our projections stand right now.
Now, how do you make up for that? Or can you make up for that?
We are limited to 25 years or $1.3 billion. There's not a whole lot we can do. Just kind of ride that out and see how it turns out.
Well, it's interesting that we would be saying this because there's a number of businesses that have come into this community, it seems. Mount Pleasant and others, Somerville, lots of other, or not Somerville, but certainly Charleston County cities, and the restaurants and all those businesses that would be contributing to the sales tax. So if that's true, if there are a number coming in, why haven't we reached that goal for this period or surpassed it?
Well, because it is true that we are blessed with a very strong economy relative to a lot of other places. Just the fact is that it did slow down in 2009 and 10 to a great degree. Retail sales went down. Housing values dropped. We suffered just like the rest of the national economy. We seem to be responding and rebounding a little bit better than a lot of other places. So that's why we lost money, and that's why I am hopeful that we'll hit the 25-year goal.
Now, what's this mean to the transportation sales tax program? Does it mean that you develop fewer projects? Or does it mean that you just put some projects on the back burner for a while until monies can be made up? I mean, what impact does this have?
A little bit of both. We did slow down some projects, but the happy story is before the recession hit, we actually generated more revenues than our projections. So we had some additional fund balance that would help us kind of smooth that out. But the recession lasted 4 or 5 years, and we did have to, near the latter part of the years, slow down on some of the projects. But I think we're back on track now. Good,
good. This is something that concerns me as well, and that is the Department of Transportation. And we've talked before about this, the Department of Transportation and how it can contribute. In other words, are there state dollars? Now, I know that the sales tax on gasoline hasn't risen in 30 years or more. But how is the state, because many of these roads are state roads that we're fixing and repairing and building, how is the state involved financially?
Well, you're right. Most of the roads in Charleston County are either state roads or city roads. The major roads, the roads that we've been working on, are state roads. And the state has been unable to come up with the funding to keep up with the growth in the Charleston community. As you say, the largest amount of funding, source of funding for DOT, Department of Transportation, is the gas tax, and gas consumption is kind of flattening out. It's not really growing at the pace it would otherwise have. The other source of state funding is the State Infrastructure Bank. But just like DOT and the State Infrastructure Bank, those are state agencies, and those state agencies have to respond to the needs in 46 counties. We're just one of the counties. We are not the only large urban area in the county. There are others. There are also a lot of rural counties that have a lot of roads that need maintenance. So there is a large responsibility for the state. The state just has not been having the resources to keep up with that. And that's really the reason why the county started the half-penny sales tax and asked the voters to pass it, was to work on state roads the state was unable to keep up with in terms of the congestion and the increased usage in Charleston County.
I assume, though, this is very quick, I assume, though, that Charleston County, has the money to maintain these roads.
Well, the way we've set this up is that we do the improvement, we do the construction, and then we hand the roads back to the state, and the state is responsible for maintenance. Therein lies a very good question. If their funding source, DOT's funding source for road maintenance is gasoline taxes, and gasoline taxes aren't really growing, will they be able to maintain that? But as large as the numbers are for construction of these roads, the maintenance expense is very large too, and that remains a concern.
Charleston County is not the only county. There's 46 counties in South Carolina. It'd be something else if all decided that they were going to take on this kind of work themselves and grow their own money, as I like to put it. But we do have a couple of counties right around us who've also had half-cent sales tax, or no, penny sales tax.
That's right.
Full penny. Now, I don't know if they knew something we didn't know or what, but so what do you think of that? There's others who are doing it, following our lead, maybe?
Well, when council put the half-penny sales tax on the ballot, council laid out, depending on how you count them, 11 or 13 large road projects. We also committed to spending about $10.5 million a year on smaller road projects, intersection improvements, sidewalks, and things like that. The half-penny sales tax that we have will fund and is funding all of those 13 projects, and as well as we expect the ongoing $10.5 million a year. What we perhaps did not anticipate, or what is the outcome of that, is the fact that once people see that the county can successfully complete these large projects, they come up with their own ideas for additional roads, or the need just is obvious that it presents itself because the whole community, not just the roads that we have committed to improving, are growing. And so I think there is a recognition that perhaps additional large projects need to be funded. The state law allows the half-penny or the transportation sales tax to be as much as a penny. So there could be on a future ballot, if council decides that and comes up with a list of projects that the community endorses, perhaps a referendum on another half-penny.
I know that everybody listening to us or looking at us hopefully knows something about the sales tax. But for those who don't know, how did all of this come about, and what does it do exactly? That's just for those who may not know.
Well, there's there's a couple of different ways that the state permits sales taxes to be placed by local governments. The county selected the transportation sales tax option and proposed a 25-year period. Some other counties, I believe, are doing it for shorter periods of time, and there's another law that limits it to just 7 years. County Council placed before the voters a proposal for a half-cent sales tax, and it is not just for transportation. It is for transportation, it is for mass transit, and it is for green space. County Council was very careful to say that, propose to the voters that 17% would be for green space, 18% would be for public transit, and 65% would be for road construction and road improvements. That's about, when you break down that $1.3 billion, That's probably about 800,000 for 800 million, excuse me, for the roads, about 300 million for transit, and about 200 million for the
Is that
green
how it
space
is now?
preservation. Yes, that's based on the projections of the 1.3
Right.
billion dollars.
Right. And I've noticed that some of the other counties, Dorchester and a few others, they have spent a lot of those dollars. They can go real quick, one penny. And I don't know what we do that's different, but are we mixing our money with some federal money? Is that what makes it go a long way?
Well, a couple of things. Yes, we have some federal or state money in, but we also have employed the technique of bonding, borrowing money, because there's two ways to finance large construction projects. One is pay as you go. You save up the money that you have each year and you wait until you have enough money to construct the road, or you phase the construction of the road to match your funding stream. That takes a long time, that's inefficient, that creates a lot of construction delays and chaos on the roads for a long period of time. The other way is to borrow the money, bond the money. Charleston County has borrowed millions of dollars twice, backed by these revenues. That is to say, we know what the revenue stream is. I did mention that it has not been quite as matching our projections. However, when we borrow money, we use very conservative revenue projections. So we have borrowed money twice so that we can get the large projects done sooner rather than having to wait 25 years until the money comes in.
Is there interest paid on that money?
Oh, there sure is.
Big
Principal
time.
and interest. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
principal and interest.
Yes, ma'am.
Big interest?
Well, it's large dollar amounts. Percentages are smaller. The county is in a good position because we have a high bond rating, AAA bond rating, which means that we pay the lowest possible interest that you can on government-issued debt. So that helps keep our expense down.
What is bond money?
That is the money that comes out of your borrowed money, where the local governments and state governments as well borrow against the future revenue stream. And you get the money up front, and you can spend it, and you pay. It's like a mortgage on a house. You're starting to pay your. You pay it back over time.
Right. Do you think at some point we'll have to go back to the public?
Uh,
I've been hearing a little something out there here and there about the possibility of asking the public to maybe go at this again.
Well, as I said before, the current half-penny sales tax will pay for the roads that were envisioned on the ballot, the 13 projects. If, however, the community wants more road improvement projects of large size, like the ones that we're doing now, Johnny Dodds Boulevard kind of scale projects, another source of revenue is going to have to be found, and it would have to be a large source of revenue. Governments can raise taxes, property taxes, which is not very popular, or raise the sales tax, which is sometimes equally not very popular. To do that, there would have to be another referendum for another half-penny sales tax. The argument has always been with the half-penny sales tax is that perhaps as much as 1/3 of the sales tax is paid for by visitors who come here. You can also argue that a lot of the roads, some of our congestion is due to not just the local residents, but the influx of tourists. So there is an argument to be made.
Yeah. And so it's a good possibility that we may have to find some other way to raise money. I'm from up north, as you know, and I'm thinking about all these toll bridges and toll booths that are used. Right. And I don't hear us talking about that much here. And well, there's one in Greenville, I think.
Right.
Greenville has one small, and I understand nobody uses the road.
I've driven it once to see it.
They use 85, but nobody hadn't been touched.
It's kind of a lonely road, and I think
really
because of that, they are having some problems paying, because that's how they were going to pay back the debt to borrow that, to build that road, was with tolls. And if people aren't driving on the road, they're not having the tolls, and so therefore they have some difficulties on paying back the debt.
That would never go over here in Charleston County. It'd be
I believe
hard.
I think County Council manages our finances very well and would not want to take that kind of risk, but would rather have a sound financial plan that would work.
Yeah, to me, that sounds, the Greenville situation, it sounds desperate. It sounds like they haven't had a raise in gasoline tax because they're part of the state.
Sure.
So as a consequence, there are fewer dollars available if the federal government is not involved. You know, I know it was one idea that the federal government had, and that was perhaps we could put money into communities and sort of like back in the 30s, I think, with the New Deal.
Right.
And if we could put money into our communities, it would also create jobs. So we would be killing two birds with one stone. And I don't know if anybody's thought of that here, but I do know that we're still 16 cents on the gallon, unlike most states in the world. No, in this country.
Right.
What is going on here?
It's not a percentage, so as gasoline prices go up, the amount of gasoline tax income does not go up because it's not a percentage of the price. It's a flat rate. And as I said before, cars become more fuel efficient. People are beginning to use alternate fueled vehicles. And in fact, speaking in my own experience, younger people, not me, but my son perhaps, don't drive as much, and they communicate through phones and computers and don't necessarily need to be face to face with people and drive to see people. So that's the real problem with the state revenues. Federal, they have some great ideas on how to push federal money down to the local to replace infrastructure and to create jobs. But I'm not sure we can wait on the federal government to solve the gridlock problems that they have, because we are facing these traffic problems on a daily basis already.
Absolutely, and we are also, I think, trying to deal with that problem by making nice long sidewalks so people can walk, and then there are bicycle paths. And now that's always been in Charleston, because I know people are bicyclers here. But it's amazing the number that are coming up out of this program. It's a community effort that South Carolina is making, and especially Charleston County, so that people will be encouraged, and connectivity, so that people can, all of these terms and all of these ideas, I assume, help to address the fact that we don't have the money or won't have enough money to put into large traffic frames such as roadways and bridges and all of that good stuff in the future.
Alternative ways to travel are make a lot of sense. Our problem is that the community was not built with distances to be walked or bicycle ridden. It was built with suburbs with long distances for cars to drive. Each effort we take helps, but it's a very large problem.
When we come back from the break, I'm going to be interested in talking with you about the State Infrastructure Bank and what does that mean, and how does a community, a county, for an example, become chosen to utilize those dollars. We'll talk about the state infrastructure program in just a few minutes, so please don't go away. You'll want to know how Charleston County is getting involved in that and has gotten involved with it.
Hey, Charleston County, let's recycle. Charleston County makes it easy. Recycling glass, aluminum cans, steel and aerosol cans, plastics 1 to 7. We recycle them all. And don't forget paper. If it tears, recycle it. Even cardboard. Recycle at work, at home, and at play. So whether you're using the 2 curbside bin system and separating, or the all-in-one roll cart system,